Okay, in a second, yeah, it is going live. Just skipping the ad. Okay, so welcome everyone. I can see few folks already joined the stream today, and this was the aim, Utkarsh. Welcome,
Yeah.
Utkarsh, on the channel once again. And
Thank you, sir.
because we are consistently doing these sessions, so I can see few folks are already uh, there on the live stream. So that's good sign. People are watching. Okay,
Mm.
so today's topic is batch epics. Okay, I will be asking you questions related to the batch epics, and we already covered future and queuable. Okay, so now today we'll be covering batch and then scheduled epics. Okay, so this is episode number 19, and once again welcome everyone on this channel. And I hope you are happy like we are back with the mock interview series, and it will be helping you in future interview preparations. Okay, so I think we can move on to the next slide. So just wanted to share one information like if you or anybody in your circle wants to prepare for the Salesforce job and they want to have a guided curriculum, so they can visit skillhorizon.org.in. We are official Trailblazer Workforce Partner. Okay, so you can visit. There are lots of courses available, and soon I will be starting Salesforce Admin and Development course this month. So we are providing both online and offline programming programs along with the job assistance. Okay, moving on to the next slide. So you will be having this QR code. You can scan this, and if you want to attend free job readiness training demos, so with the help of this QR code, you can visit the website and you can join the WhatsApp group so that you will get all the notifications. Okay, so first question for you, Utkarsh, and for everybody who is watching this stream, and maybe if you're watching the recording you can just go through the question and predict the correct answer. So the first question is a batch job processes 1000 records with the batch size 200. Okay, an error occurs at the 395th record using standard DML. Okay, what is the final state? What do you think? So first option is all 1000 records rollback. Okay. Second is records 1 to 200 committed, records 200 to 400 rollback, and remaining unprocessed. Third option, records 1 to 400 committed, 401 to 1000 rollback, only record 395 fails, rest commit.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? And maybe uh, if you don't find any correct option, so you can just say none of the above.
Okay. So I guess, sir, D is the correct option because the batch size is 200. So the batch will be divided like a batch will be 0 to 100 and then 0, 100 to 400 will be
Hmm.
the batch B. And in the batch B, in the batch we are using standard DML. So standard DML is like if one fails, then whole the batch will be rolled back. So I guess the batch A, which has 1 to 200 record, will be committed, and the batch B will be rolled back, and the remaining will be unprocessed.
But in my
So B is the correct
opinion,
option.
what I know, like if any one batch is failing, so it will not be impacting the other batches. So the prior and the remaining batches all should be processed.
But we are using the standard DML, right? So if one is failing, the DML is
But
failing, then
but
the
we are in the batch. Even if you are using standard DML, so all the records of that particular batch might fail. It will not impact other batches. Okay, because we
yeah.
are doing the split here.
Oh,
So that is the main thing that we have in the batch. Like if you split number of records, so one batch, whether you are using DML or database class, if you use database class, then that particular record will fail. If you're using
yeah.
DML, then that particular batch will fail. But other remaining four batches will be executed successfully.
Okay.
Okay, so here none of the
Okay.
answer is matching with that. B can match if we say remaining processed.
Okay.
Okay, so
Right.
this everybody needs to understand, like if we are creating batch, that's why the batch is beneficial. Okay, because one, if one batch is failing, so it will not impact the other batches, and we will be having more governor limits also. Each batch will be having its own governor limit, so these are two advantages. No problem. So moving on to the next question. So uh, just going through the next question now. So you submit 6 batch jobs rapidly, okay, and we have Apex Flex Queue. So Apex Flex Queue is enabled. What happens to the sixth job? Okay, throws limit exception immediately, gets queued status, gets holding status in Apex Flex Queue, and last one is silently ignored.
Okay. C option, sir. Holding six job will be getting the holding status in the Apex Flex queue
Okay, and
because the
yeah, go ahead.
Salesforce will throw limit exception error if the job is under like above the 100 job, it will throw an error. And in the active state, we can only have like 5 jobs which can run parallelly. So yeah, see.
Okay, and like, can you elaborate little bit about the Apex Flex Queue? Like, what is the purpose of this particular feature?
Sir, like Salesforce, like we have, let's say we have 10 bad jobs. Okay, so the Salesforce allows only 5 active jobs which can run parallelly. So remaining will be stored in the Flex Apex Flex queue. So when the like, resources will be there on the job done, like first job or the second job, whatsoever job is like done processing, then the another job will be get the chance to execute. So yeah.
Okay, yep. So sometimes, like, this is not a frequently asked question, but sometime interviewer may ask you like, what is Apex Flex Queue? So that's why I included this particular question. Okay, moving on to the next question, question number 3. So what is batch Apex and why do we use it over normal Apex? Explain the 3 methods of batch Apex and their purpose.
Okay. So, we use batch Apex over the normal Apex. First thing, we batch Apex run in the asynchronous way, so the user don't have to wait for the process to done the execution. The user can do other work while the process will be get executed in the background. Second thing, like in the normal Apex, we can get only we have the limitation like the of this CPU, like the heap size is 6 MB only, and we can get retrieve only 50,000 record. But in the batch, we can retrieve 50 million record via query locator, and the heap size also increased to 12 MB.
Right.
So yeah, in order to so if you want to process the large set of data, then we can go for the batch Apex. And the 3 methods of the batch Apex are: first one is start, second one is execute, and third one is finish. So in the start method, it execute only once in the batch method. Batch method and its main motive or the purpose is to get the records for the like get all the records which we want to process, like retrieve all the records. Second is execute. It can run multiple times like count, and the main it is the main method in which we can write all our logic of the class, like which we want to process or anything what we want to do. And the third one is finish method. It This method is this is also like it also run once in the only run one at a time, and you can say like the chaining of the batch is done in the finish. And the third thing is like you can send an email notification or yeah in this finish method.
Yeah, you are right. So there are total 3 methods: start, execute, and finish. So start and execute both execute once, and start and finish both execute once, and execute method is executed based on the number of batches. And you also covered the governor limit part, that is increased. uh, Size, like heap size, will also be increased because this is a asynchronous process. So whenever you have large jobs, whenever you have large number of records, so always prefer batch epics, okay? Because it splits the records into small chunks, and then we'll be able to process. One more question, Utkarsh. Can you tell me what is the minimum limit, like what is the minimum batch size and the maximum batch size we can achieve, and what is the default batch size?
Sir, minimum is 1, maximum is 2000, and the default is 200.
Yes, you are right. So minimum is 1, maximum is 2000, and the default is 200. So these are the batch sizes that you can have. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Question number 4. So which statement about database.queryLocator versus iterable is definitely correct? So both, first option, both bypass the 50,000 SOQL record governor limit. B, query locator supports up to 50 million records. Iterable is still bound by 50,000 record limit. C, iterable supports more records than query locator. D, query locator supports custom in-memory logic better than iterable. So what do you think?
B, sir.
Yeah,
This is
B
very
is the correct
straightforward.
answer here. Straightforward. Query locator supports up to 50 million records, and iterable is still bound by 50,000 record limit. So you are absolutely right, and this is a straightforward difference, and this you need to remember because we use query locator most of time whenever we are going to use the batch, because here we can cross the 50,000 record limit. Okay, so moving on to the next question. And Navneet, you are right. Minimum is 1, default is 200, max is 2000. You are absolutely right. Okay, moving on to the question number 5. Database.stateful. Okay, this is basically an interface. So is implemented in a batch, right? We are implementing database.stateful in a particular batch. Which statement is true? A, all static and instance variables retain values between execute transactions. Only static variables retain values between transactions. Only instance member variables retain values between transactions. Stateful makes the finish method asynchronous. So I think last one is we can avoid, like D option won't go with this because that cannot happen. So you have 3 options. I just eliminated one option. So what do you think?
Then, sir, C is the correct option because static variable will get reset after the every transaction, in every transaction.
Okay, and can you differentiate static and instance?
Static variable, you can say, refers to the object, whereas static refers to the class, whereas instance refers to the object.
Right, when we create, like if you are having 5 execute methods, so every time that instance will be created, right? Memory will be allocated to that.
Yeah.
Is it true or wrong?
Are you asking a question or you are
Yes.
telling the?
Yeah.
Can you repeat? Like, if we have 5 methods.
Yeah, I'm saying instance variable is there in the class, and then we are having 5 time execute method. So what will happen? Instance member will be having memory allocated again and again, or it will reset its value? If we are executing execute method around 5 times.
5 times.
Yeah, what will happen?
And you have won't reset. It won't reset.
Yeah, in case of database.stateful, it won't reset. It will like persist the value, and if we don't use, then it will reset the value. Memory will not be allocated again and again, right? Memory will be allocated once, the value will be reset. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, moving on to the next question. So why should batch chaining only happen in finish and never in execute?
So, sir, as you have already told, that the finish method or execute only once, whereas execute method multiple times.
Mhm.
So, if you do chaining in the execute method, it will hit the Salesforce limit.
Mhm.
That's why we use like batch batch chaining is done only in the finish. And there is a limitation also, like you can't do chaining in the execute or the even in the start method of the batch.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, because if you're doing chaining and if you're doing it in execute, so it will be a messed up thing,
Yeah,
right? Because we have lots of execute happening. So it will be recommended like once your batch is done, all the execute,
yeah,
all the batches are executed, then when finish will be happening, then you can initiate another batch. So this, as per best
yeah.
practice, this is recommended, right? So moving on to the next question. You call database.execute batch with no scope size specified. The start method returns 1500 records via query locator. How many times does execute fire? So there are total four options: 1500, 15, 8, or 750.
Okay, since I have not specified the size, so it will take the default size, which is 200. So 1500 divided by 200 is 7.5. So we will the execute method will fire at 8 times.
Right. So since default batch size is 200 and we have 1500 records, so if you divide 1500 by 200, so it will be 7.5. So seven complete batches with 200 record and the eighth one will be
Mm.
having 100 records. So total 100, so total 8 batches will be processed for 1500 records. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Okay, moving on to the next question. So which of the following will throw a runtime exception in Salesforce? So option A, calling another batch from finish method, calling system.enqueueJob from execute method, calling database.execute batch from execute method, and using database.stateful with query locator. So which will throw a runtime
Uh,
exception?
Okay, so the A option is like batch chaining, so it
Hmm.
is correct. B option is, yeah, it is allowed. Like limit is one, but yeah, it is allowed. C option will throw an error. Yeah, so C option.
Okay, so through C we are trying to do chaining, right? In execute.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so guys, C option is correct for this interview question. Okay, we can move on to the next question now. So, what is the significance of batch size and what are its limit? And can we make call outs from batch epics? What is required?
So the significant default is 200, and the minimum is one, and the maximum is 2000.
Yeah, we
And
already
yes, we
discussed.
can make, yeah. Yes, we can make the call out from the batch effects. Like we have to, you can say, implement the interface name as the database dot allows callouts, and we can make the callouts. But
Okay.
there is also a limitation. Like you can only have the batch size would be, if you are making the call out, the batch size would be like 100 record.
Okay. Perfect. So moving on to the next question, it was quite easy. So now next is a batch job uses for update in its query locator. SOQL, what happens? Records log successfully for the batch duration. Only the first batch gets logged. An exception is thrown. Locking is implied per batch execution. For update is silently ignored.
C option, sir, because the locking is done on the per batch execution. So yeah, it will throw an error, I guess.
Okay, so can you please elaborate little bit more on this? Like,
Like query locator uses like you can say query more, so which paginates the like more records. So
hmm,
if you use the for update, it will, I guess, try to lock, but yeah. So we are not, but Salesforce will throw in the batch. In the batch, the only locking is done in the per batch execution. So that's
Okay.
why.
Yeah, I think you need to explore this thing a little bit more, so that because in interview, if you want to deep dive in these type of questions, so you just need to prepare more about this, right? Okay, moving on to the next thing. So what is the maximum number of system.nq job calls allowed per execute in a batchable class?
Mm.
55, 1
Once,
unlimited. I think you already answered in the previous
yeah,
question.
once,
So from batch we can call one NQ job that
one
is allowed.
cube.
Yeah. So it is very easy. Anybody can remember this. Okay. I think we can move on to the next question now. So we have question number 12. So batch job processes 10,000 records. Midway through execution, a governor limit is breached in batch 3. Explain what happens to batch 1, 2, 3, and the remaining batches. How does this behavior differ when using database.insert versus standard DML insert? I think this type of question we already discussed, so now you will be able to answer it correctly.
Yeah. The since batch 3 is having the like issue, like the it is reaching the governor limit. So batch 1 and batch 2 will commit the records in the database, and in the batch 3, like the Salesforce will have the different behavior in the different cases. Like if we are using database.insert and we are uh, making the parameter false for the allow or none, like there is a parameter. If you are using it true, then it will same behave as like if all the records are true, then it will get committed. Otherwise, if it's failing, then whole the thing will be rolled back. So if you are making it false, then only those particular record will be not committed to the database. Otherwise, all the records will be committed.
So,
So in the case of the standard DML, the same. If anything fails in the batch 3, so whole batch 3 will be rolled back and the remaining batches will execute.
So
Yeah.
what do you think? Which one, like as a developer, if you're working on a project and you need to implement this, so how you will be resolving this? Like which one you will be choosing, database.insert or a standard DML insert statement?
Database dot insert, sir, because I don't want to process my which are already successful. I don't want to process it again and again. So yeah, database dot insert would be a better choice.
Right.
And
And
if I use the database dot stateful, then I can get the total you can say fail record also at last after the whole batch is executed, and then I can process only those failing records. So
right.
yeah.
So in your opinion, like in any of the project, uh, will you be getting any scenario where forcefully you will be using DML statement? Can this occur? Do you think it will happen? Maybe.
Maybe, sir. But
There can be a scenario like we don't want
yeah.
to go for partial success, partial failure, right? There can be
Hmm.
situation. So in this type of question, sometimes you can put this opinion also in front of the interviewer, like if
Hmm.
we need to choose, so it depends on the situation. Always I will not
Okay.
go for database dot insert. Sometimes I
Hmm.
might need to choose standard DML insert. So it will totally depending on the situation, like how we want to proceed. Okay, because in some of the scenarios it will be possible, like if one is failing, so you don't want to do any insert operation, right? You need to fix that and then
Okay.
you want to go ahead. So that might be the possibility. Okay.
Sure, sir.
Okay, so nicely answered, and I just added few things that anybody can remember for future. So let's move on to the next question. And question number 13 is, an aggregate SOQL query is used inside the start method of a batch class using query locator. What happens? Works fine as query locator, bypass all limits, runs slower but completes, throws an error, aggregate queries don't support query more, and aggregate queries work only in execute, not start. So what do you think? What will be the correct answer for this?
C, sir, because aggregate queries don't support query mode. This is an standard Salesforce.
Okay, so instead of aggregate, what will be the option there? Like how you will be, like if you are a developer, you saw this is failing, so how you will be fixing that issue?
If I want to like have an alternate approach, like then I will be like retrieving the both the records in the different list and then merging the list.
Mm, can you use parent to child SQL and then do the calculation?
That can also be done. Yeah,
Yeah, that can be a,
the single
because
one,
yeah,
single query. Yeah.
right now that came in my mind. So there can be other
Hmm.
possibilities also. Okay, so aggregation and parent to child. So those are two things that can be used interchangeably. Okay, so we can move on to the next question now. So number 14. So database.stateful is not used. A counter variable tracks total processed records across 5 execute transactions. What is the counter value after all executions? So first one is correct total across all batches. Then B is count from only the last execute transaction, always 0, and count from only the first execute transaction. So what do you think?
Count from the only the last execute transaction, because the it's not retrieving the, it's again and again get resetting the value, and the last value will be the last execution transaction. Because let's say first execution is done, the counter stores some value, then when this second then the second transaction runs, it will, the value will be lost, and it will get the second counter will store the value from the second execution. This goes on and on, and in the last case, when the fifth execution will be running, it will be getting stored the values from the fifth transaction.
Yeah,
But
but
rest all the
okay. So I'm going to give you one tip here. So once you find some time, so just implement this. And here, what will happen after execution of fifth batch? It will reset the variable and the final outcome will be 0.
okay.
So once your execute method completes the execution, the
Mm.
class variables are reset.
Oh,
Okay, so that
then,
last value will also be lost. So just give it a try.
okay.
Okay, and
Sure, sir.
then like just share your finding and we'll discuss that offline. Other folks also, like those who are watching, this is a very good question. If database.stateful is not used and you are having multiple batches and you are having a class variable also, so what will happen to that class variable? Like will that be having the value which is generated in the last execute method, or it will be reset to 0 or to the initial value whatever you are assigning into the class variable? Okay, so you guys can test it. Now coming the last one for today, question number 15, and we are on time. 30 minutes are gone. We are on the 30th minute. So explain the life cycle difference between stateless and stateful batch execution. Give two scenarios where using database.stateful becomes architecturally necessary rather than just convenient.
Okay. So in like stateless, the value will get again and again reset. You won't be able to retrieve the values. Like the, okay. In the so in the case of the stateful, you the static variable will again be resetted, but the instance variable will retrieve their values. And the two scenarios are, first one is if you want to get the count of the number of the failing records,
Mhm.
then I can use over here the database dot stateful is necessary. And let's say if there is a company, and the company wants to give commission to the retailers
Mhm.
on the total sales. So, like first execution in the batch A, the total sale count will be 50K. Like the commission will be distributed in the different, like if the limit is like the total sale is below 1 lakh, then it will get 5%. If it's above the 1 lakh, then it will get 10%. So like let's say the batch A runs, and it is running in a stateless like execution. So the total sales will be like only 50K, and the retailer will get only 5%. Whereas batch B runs and it also get like 50K, then again also only 5% commission is there. But in total there is 100 like 1 lakh total sales. So the retailer should get a 10% commission. So in this case, yeah, database.stateful is necessary.
Yep, perfect. You explained both the examples correctly, and in most of the cases where you want to persist a value between different batch execution, we always implement database.stateful interface. Okay, that is right. And on we can move on to the next slide now. And this slide is about Skill Horizon. You can join our WhatsApp community and you can attend free job readiness training demo sessions. You can scan this QR code. You will end up to the Skill Horizon website. Okay, and we are providing both online and offline training programs. We are providing placement assistance also. So you can visit the website, you can see the curriculum, and on that website my contact numbers are also available. So if you want to reach out, I would be happy to give you the career guidance. Okay, and you can hit like on the live stream to support us. And thank you, Utkarsh, for connecting again this week and finding some time.
It's my
Okay,
pleasure, sir.
and next week we'll be having scheduled epics, right? So then
Mm.
asynchronous part will be done, and after that I think we will be starting either integration or LWC. So that we'll discuss, and accordingly we'll be doing that. Okay, guys,
Yes.
thank you everybody, those who joined live and stayed at the end, and those who are watching the recording, thanks to them as well. Bye everyone. See you next week.